Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, today we stand at a crossroads of justice and vengeance, where the truth must be brought forth and the guilty party held accountable for their horrendous deeds. The defendant, Prince Hamlet, stands accused of the cold-blooded murder of King Claudius, Hamlet's uncle and the ruler of Denmark. The prosecution will prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the accused did in fact commit one of the most grievous crimes. The evidence in this case is compelling and clear. We will show that Hamlet was motivated by an irresistible desire for revenge, having long suspected that King Claudius was responsible for the death of Hamlet's own father, King Hamlet. Hamlet's actions leading up to the murder were erratic and unstable, often having fits of rage and outbursts of anger that left those around him shaken and afraid. On the day of the murder, Hamlet engaged in a deadly fight with Laertes, the son of Polonius, whom Hamlet had stabbed to death, thinking that it was King Claudius. Laertes was seeking revenge for his father's death, and Hamlet was all too willing to oblige him. In the chaos of the fight, Hamlet saw an opportunity to exact his long-sought revenge against King Claudius. With a cold and calculated precision, Hamlet seized upon the moment and plunged his sword deep into the king's chest. He then forced King Claudius to consume poison, silencing his enemy forever. The evidence will show that this was not a crime of passion or a moment of temporary insanity. This was a premeditated act of malice, carefully planned and executed with a cold and calculating mind. Hamlet knew exactly what he was doing when he killed King Claudius, and he did so with an utter disregard for the law and sanctity of human life. We ask you, members of the jury, to consider the gravity of the defendant's actions and the suffering that he has inflicted upon those who loved and respected King Claudius. The time has come for justice to be served and Hamlet to be held accountable for his crimes. We urge you to find him guilty as charged and decide a verdict that reflects the severity of the offense. Thank you.
May it please the court, your honor, and ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Aiden Williams, and today I'm here to show you that the defendant, Prince Hamlet, did not intentionally murder King Claudius. The definition of murder is stated as the killing of another human being with malice aforethought. However, the defendant did not have malice aforethought because he had no time to think and resulted in an immediate response to action. Imagine this. You are enjoying a day with your family, and then suddenly your mother drops dead to the floor. You are then told that someone killed her, and he happens to be standing in the same room as you are. What would you do now? What emotions would you be feeling? Would you allow the killer to get away with this? On the day of the death, Prince Hamlet was challenged to a friendly fencing match by Laertes earlier that day. The defendant agreed, and therefore the match was created. The friendly duel started with both opponents exchanging hits at each other. Suddenly, the defendant's mother, Queen Gertrude, collapsed to the floor. Queen Gertrude cried to Hamlet and told him that the cup that she drank out of was poisoned. As she took her final breath, she took one last look at her son. Deeply confused and distraught, the defendant ran to his deceased mother, wondering who would do such a thing. Another cry rang out of the hall, and this time it's Laertes, claiming that he has also been poisoned too, but this time with a sword. He explains that King Claudius is to blame for his mother's death, and that the cup was meant for Hamlet. The sword also was meant for him too, but somehow they switched swords during the duel. Prince Hamlet, now disoriented, immediately picked up his sword and in the heat of passion, charged his mother's killer. After being impaled by the blade, Claudius was forced to drink the remaining juice that had been poisoned. Claudius was therefore pronounced dead. The issue in this case today is that the defendant did not have premeditation thoughts and therefore should be charged with manslaughter. This will be 100% proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Today, we will hear from Ophelia, the defendant's former lover. She explained that to the court that Hamlet had been acting very strange lately for some time. She believes that the death of his mother pushed him off the edge. Finally, you will hear from Horatio, one of the watch guards and one of the defendant's friends. He explained to you that Hamlet witnessed his mother's death, and out of shock and despair turned on King Claudius. Based on this evidence that will be shown today, you will be convinced that the defendant, Prince Hamlet, did not have any forethought and should not be charged with first-degree murder.
all the coffee stuff. Wait, did you put it up there?
Oh, it is up there. Okay. The prosecution would now like to call Polonius to the witness stand.
Hello, I am Polonius.
All right, Polonius. How do you know the defendant?
I am an advisor to the king and father of Ophelia, who is Hamlet's daughter.
Did Hamlet have a difficult life from your perspective?
Everyone in Denmark knew he did. His father was killed and his mother was quickly remarried. That's a hard life for anyone.
Did you ever see Hamlet exhibit any signs of anger towards the victim?
Oh, many times. I often had to protect his own mother from him, for she feared for his life due to his rage.
When did this anger seem to peak?
Well, I would have to say it was on the night of my death. One night, the queen asked me to hide in a room while she heard Hamlet coming on his way. She wanted to be protected from Hamlet's anger. When Hamlet arrived, I was glad she had asked for my help. Hamlet started screaming at his mother about her marriage to Claudius, and this went on for a while, and he was showing more and more anger by the second. Finally, the queen yelled for help. She couldn't be heard, so I yelled out to the guards outside of the room for extra assistance. Hamlet heard my yell from my hiding spot and stabbed me. My face was hidden from view when he did. I died there on the spot.
Well, why do you think Hamlet would kill you?
He probably assumed I was the king. I mean, the king was the most likely man to be in the room, and it was clear that Hamlet wished he was dead. He must have thought that he had an opportunity to kill the king with no guards around to stop him, and he plunged the sword into the king's chest. He wanted the king dead, except it wasn't the king. Sadly, it was me.
So Hamlet displayed hate for the king and even tried to kill a man he thought was the king the days before the murder took place.
That was my experience, yes.
Thank you for sharing, and I do intend on attending your funeral this weekend.
You're welcome. I very much appreciate that.
No further questions.
Oh my
Good morning, Polonius.
Good morning.
How long have you known Hamlet?
Well, everyone in Denmark has known of Hamlet for all his life, as he was the prince. However, I was able to get to know him quite well from his actions in the castle. I am an advisor to the king, or was at least while I was alive. In addition to this, he had a relationship with my daughter.
Did you ever notice Hamlet acting drastically or strangely?
He was quite angry after the death of his father and the remarriage of his mother. He also seemed to be driven crazy by something. I thought it was my daughter, but I later disproved that.
Has Hamlet ever shown or said whether he had any feelings toward Ophelia?
He did. He sent her letters and etc. Okay. But it was kind of back and forth on whether he truly loved her or not.
Why were you hiding in the queen's room?
If you're referring to the night of my death, I was there at the queen's request.
Did you ever hear Hamlet say he wanted to kill King Claudius?
I don't remember that distinctly, but I wouldn't be surprised. It did seem to be in alignment with his attitude, especially on the night of my death.
No further questions, Your Honor.
I'm not Queen Gertrude. I thought you were trying to get me to shoot up. Wait. Oh my gosh, wait. Hold up. Who has the other copy? Okay, does your copy have the answers to the Queen's cross-examination? Because for some reason, okay. Mine didn't update when I went to print it, so Aiden has the part to read, but you have to read this version because all those answers are blank.
Okay.
So, yeah, so the friend's answers are blank on this sheet, but they're on Ethan.
Yeah.
So Ethan has the answers, you just read. See, that was blank. So don't panic. That's just, yeah, I just had to let you know so you weren't like confused.
The prosecution would now like to call Queen Gertrude to the witness.
Hello.
So So, Queen Gertrude, how are you?
I am doing just great, except for the death of my son, and the death of all my friends and family.
So, how do you know the defendant?
He is my son.
Oh, yes. How did Hamlet handle the death of his father?
He was very sad, which is to be expected, but what I found was surprising was his immediate hatred for my new husband.
Did Hamlet respect his father?
Oh, he definitely did. He was a great kid growing up until his father's death. He loved his father so much that he seemed talking to a wall as if it was his father, almost as if there was a ghost of his father there, but I can't know for sure.
Can you confirm the accuracy of Polonius's testimony about the night of his death?
I can. Everything he said was completely in line with what I experienced.
Do you also believe that Hamlet killed Polonius thinking it was Claudius?
I definitely believe so. He spent so much time telling me how he didn't like my husband.
In your opinion, would you say he may have considered murdering your husband?
Considered? He had intended to kill him when he killed Polonius. It seems the moment came and he had already decided he wanted Claudius dead. There was no hesitation. I hate to say this about my son, but it is the truth.
Did Hamlet do anything out of the ordinary in the time leading up to the murder?
He hadn't done anything normal since his father died, but especially strange was his disregard for his relationship with Ophelia, his intolerance of the spies we sent with him, and his all-around anger. Every day was worse and worse for him, until it seemed he began to snap. He slowly became more and more angry, evident by his starting out not liking the new king, to his eventual killing of Polonius.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Queen Gertrude, would you ever say Hamlet tends to have high emotions when witnessing the death of a loved one? And could that have affected his reaction to your death?
Yes, he was continually angry ever since his father died, and even more since he killed Polonius.
So, you were a part of the spying on Hamlet, correct?
Of course. I was worried about him and everyone who interacted with him. He's been through a lot, and I never knew what he was going to do next.
Did you think anything of Hamlet's questioning towards Claudius?
Well, I think he was probably skeptical of having a new father figure, as anyone would be.
Did you hear what Hamlet said when he saw the ghost after being with you?
I don't remember exactly what he said, but I do remember him speaking to what could have been a ghost.
Okay. Did it ever cross your mind to consider believing Hamlet or take his side?
Take his side? To be very angry at myself for marrying my husband's brother? Not really.
Okay. Final question. You said that in the end of your witness statement that Hamlet was in a fragile mental state. You wouldn't be surprised if he acted impulsively and cannot say for sure if he committed first-degree murder. Is that a yes or is that no?
Correct. Without looking at all the evidence, and because I died partway through, I'm not 100% sure on what the ruling would be.
Okay. No further questions. All right. The defense calls Ophelia to the witness stand, please.
I should probably face you.
Ophelia, how do you know the defendant?
Hamlet and I had a very on and off relationship, you could say. We were lovers for a time, though my family told me he would marry above my social standards.
Did Hamlet ever show affection to you at any point?
He made a profession of his love to me in a way of words. I was unsure how to take it, though I knew Hamlet meant well. My brother Laertes and Father Polonius warned me not to fall or show affection for him for the risk of my feelings being damaged as well as my safety.
What were your personal thoughts on Hamlet before the murder?
Hamlet always seemed genuine and sincere in what he said, making it difficult to know who to listen to at the moment.
Were you allowed to see Hamlet at all?
At the end of the conversation with my father, regarding his regarding his love letters, I was forbidden to see Hamlet.
Okay. Did Hamlet ever come to see you?
One night, Hamlet came running into my room all distraught, confused, and mad. I found this very odd, as I had not had any contact with him, as my family had instructed, and it seemed very out of character for Hamlet. My father decided to discuss Hamlet's behavior with the king and queen. I acted uninterested in Hamlet, even though I too had feelings for him.
Did Hamlet ever act strange or weird at all?
King Claudius and Polonius planned for me to have a chance meeting with Hamlet to see if his weird ways of acting are due to his feelings for me or not. That night, I was taking a stroll in the hallway where I came upon Hamlet. To see how he would react, I offered back gifts he had given me in the past.
All right. And what happened when you gave back the gifts to Hamlet that he gave you?
He responded to my attempt by stating he never loved me. We exchanged a few conversations, which resulted in me leaving the conversation in tears. This meeting was also very odd. For the past, Hamlet had expressed his affection towards me.
All right. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. So, Ophelia, in your chance meeting with Hamlet, did he seem like he was not worried about caring for you or protecting your feelings?
In that moment, he did seem highly distracted by something else.
Did it seem as though he might be focused on something else, like your relationship isn't important to him anymore?
It was confusing for sure. He could have been focused on something else. However, he also didn't expect to see me right in that moment.
So it almost seemed as if his drastic change in emotions toward something led to him worrying only about something, that thing not involving you.
I'd say so, yes. He definitely cared for me before. Once his father died, I'm sure his mind was processing grief. He never told me what the matter was, which is why I was shocked at his gruff reaction.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Now the defense calls Horatio to the witness stand.
Horatio needs a second. Because Horatio isn't a girl. Okay, let's see. There we go. Oh, that's so sticky. What the heck? Shoot, now I can't laugh. Hold on. Okay. Okay.
Horatio, are you ready?
Yes.
All right. How do you know the defendant?
I am a dear friend of Prince Hamlet.
Okay. Were you present the night the ghost first appeared?
Yes. One night I was on a walk with a watchman guard. We came upon two other guards who stated to have seen a ghost. They described that looked like the late King Hamlet. I was skeptical to believe them until the ghost appeared in front of us again, and I saw it with my own eyes. The ghost was even wearing the same armor as the late king had. I was terrified, as I had never seen anything like it before, to appear out of nowhere like that.
And who told Hamlet about this ghost?
It was my idea to inform Prince Hamlet of what we saw. Once we informed Hamlet of what we saw, he asked us not to tell anyone about it, and we honored his request.
Did Hamlet ever see the ghost?
Hamlet and I accompanied the watchman to see if the ghost would reappear. Sure enough, the ghost reappeared. It made hand motions asking for Hamlet to follow him. I warned him the ghost could be dangerous. He follows through with going with the ghost, so me and the other watchmen followed them as well. Once we caught up with Hamlet, the ghost was gone, and it seemed as if someone had told Hamlet, or it seemed as if the ghost had told Hamlet something very important.
And what did the ghost tell Hamlet?
Hamlet informed us the ghost told him how his father died, and as I speak, I am breaking my promise to Hamlet. However, I must share the truth before you all. We were sworn to secrecy the fact that the ghost asked Hamlet to avenge his death, but while making sure to bring no harm whatsoever to his mother.
Did you watch the show the actors put on for the palace?
The night the actors put on a play for the palace, Hamlet informed me the scene calling out King Claudius on the murder of King Hamlet. Prince Hamlet asked me to watch for Claudius's reaction, proving if he was guilty or not, for Hamlet was still unsure if the ghost was honest or lying. Instead of having a visible reaction, Claudius up and left the show, causing disruption.
Did you receive any contact from Hamlet when he left Denmark for a short period of time?
One odd night, I was approached by sailors delivering letters to me as well as King Claudius. The letter informed me that the ship Hamlet was on had been overtaken by pirates, however they were friendly pirates. I was instructed by Hamlet to take the other letter to Claudius, and then follow the sailors to see Hamlet. Later that night, Hamlet returned back to Denmark, having left the pirates.
Did Hamlet ever profess his love for Ophelia around you?
The day of Ophelia's funeral, Hamlet professed his love for Ophelia, only to realize he couldn't change the fact that she was gone, and stood by her grave. King Claudius sent me to calm down Hamlet while he spoke with Ophelia's brother Laertes.
And then one more question for you. What happened leading up to and during the murder?
Back at the castle, Hamlet informed me he had found papers on his way to England that ordered his death. Once he discovered this news, he told me he had switched the original papers out with new papers so he would not be put to death. As I was about to respond, Hamlet was approached with an invite to have a friendly duel with Laertes. So Hamlet accepts, and I follow to watch. Hamlet and Laertes accidentally dropped swords, and I believe they switched swords. In all the excitement, Queen Gertrude took a sip from a cup and fell crashing to the floor and died. Shortly after she falls, Laertes starts panicking after realizing what just happened. He tells Hamlet that he, himself, and Queen Gertrude were all poisoned, meaning the swords and the cup she drank from, by Claudius. Due to the shock of the news Hamlet just received, he unexpectedly, with frustration, stabbed Claudius with the poisoned sword, and encouraged him to also take a sip from the poisoned cup for justice for the death of his mother. Laertes and Hamlet forgave one another and made peace shortly before they both died. Right before Hamlet took his last breath, he told me to tell the story of what happened to others, and informed the King of Norway to now be the King of Denmark as well.
All right, no further questions, Your Honor.
So, you said that the ghost, presumably Hamlet's father, told Hamlet to avenge his death.
Yes, that is what Hamlet told me. As I stated, I wasn't there until after the ghost left.
This was long before the killing of the king, correct?
Correct. I don't exactly remember how long to date, however.
So, if Hamlet planned to obey, that would indicate that he had malice intent against the king. Yes or no, please?
Yes, I suppose.
Would you say that Hamlet's actions around and involving the play indicated that he likely was convinced that his father was killed by Claudius?
To an extent, yes. He was skeptical still, and put on the play to see if Claudius's reaction could confirm. And seeing as Claudius up and left that scene, I think it's safe to say Claudius was the late king's killer.
So you can attest that Hamlet was told to kill Claudius by his father. He did a test to ensure that Claudius did kill his father, and Hamlet's father believed that his son killing Claudius would be avenging his death. Is that correct?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Ah, this is off my face now. It's like probably not. It is.
May it please the court, Your Honor, and ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Aiden Williams, and today I am here to show you that the defendant, Prince Hamlet, did not intentionally murder King Claudius. We proved in this case today that the defendant did not have any premeditation thoughts, and therefore should be charged with manslaughter. As we heard today from Ophelia, the defendant was acting unpredictable, inconsistent, and unsettled. As you heard from Horatio, the defendant was also not acting like himself. Prince Hamlet witnessed his mother's death, which sent him over the edge. Based on this evidence today, you should be convinced that the defendant, Prince Hamlet, did not have any forethought and should not be charged with first-degree murder. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the evidence in this case has been overwhelmingly clear. The prosecution has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Prince Hamlet murdered his uncle and king, King Claudius. This was not a crime of passion or a momentary lapse of reason, but a premeditated act of malice. Hamlet's motive for the murder was driven by a desire for revenge and a deep-seated hatred for King Claudius, whom he believed was responsible for the death of his own father. His behavior leading up to the murder was erratic and unstable, and his violent outbursts were cause for concern. Today, you have heard from Polonius that when Hamlet killed him, it was because he thought it was the king behind the curtain, thus indicating undeniable malice toward King Claudius and the intent to kill him. You also heard Queen Gertrude confirm this statement and say that Hamlet was planning to kill King Claudius. Horatio also testified and said that Hamlet was told to kill Claudius by his father's ghost. Hamlet did a test to ensure that Claudius did kill his father, and Hamlet's father believed that his son, killing Claudius, would be avenging his death. All of these facts point undeniably toward the malicious, premeditated murder of King Claudius. We ask you, members of the jury, to consider the evidence that has been presented to you and to deliver a verdict that reflects the gravity of the defendant's actions. The murder of a king is a crime of the highest order, and it demands the harshest of punishments. We urge you to find Hamlet guilty as charged and to send a clear message that such heinous crimes will not be tolerated in our society. Let justice be done and let the guilty party pay for his crimes. Thank you.